Welcome 5th grade social studies scholars to another Passport to Social Studies video. My name is Mr. Giordano and I will be your teacher for this video. Today, we will be looking at Unit 3, the United States case study, in our Day 2 to 3 lesson. The topic of our lesson is the stories maps tell, United States of America. Our focus question is, how did geographic features and regional characteristics influence human settlement, land use, and economic activity? Our learning objective or goal for today is to analyze a variety of specialized maps to synthesize evidence and determine how the physical environment influences where people live and how the land is used. Today, we will be analyzing various maps of states in the United States to synthesize evidence and determine how the physical environment of each state influences where people live and how the land is used in that specific state. In this video, we will review the key differences and features between the maps. We will also review the definition of the word summarize and synthesize. So let's get started. For our introduction to this activity, we will start off by looking at this map of Nevada. You want to begin to infer or figure out some information about Nevada, including what part of the United States Nevada is in. Is it a big or small state? Is it mostly lowlands or mountains? And what are some geographic features in Nevada? As you take a look at the two maps, you'll see a full map of the United States and where Nevada is in the country's map, as well as a more zoomed in focused look at the geography or topography of the land of Nevada. Let's start to look at some summarizing facts that we can infer from looking at these two maps. So here's some information we can certainly infer while looking at these maps. First off, the state of Nevada is located in the western region of the United States, as we can see by the map on the left. Nevada is mainly rugged mountains, valleys, semi-arid grasslands, and sandy deserts. Nevada is a very mountainous state. And again, we can see that information just by looking at the map on the right. By looking at the colors in the bottom, we can tell that mainly the land is green, showing many mountains. And finally, some geographic features that we certainly can notice in the map on the right includes the Great Basin, the Humboldt River, the Pyramid Lake, and the Mojave Desert. Las Vegas is also located in Nevada. These are some key summarizing facts or takeaways that we can infer based on looking at these maps. When we say summary and synthesize, they mean two different things. And today we're going to go over what the difference is between these words. First off, what we just practiced was summarizing, but synthesizing is the next step. First, let's talk about synthesis. Synthesis is when someone pulls together information from a variety of sources to highlight important points, compare and contrast information, and come to some unique conclusion about the material. Drawing conclusions involves interpretation and making inferences. Finally, synthesis is when we analyze information to try to understand it. What we just did was we created a brief summary earlier looking at those two maps about Nevada. A summary is simply a short retelling of the most important information learned, perhaps in a text or even on a map. Today, we are going to view a number of different maps of states around the United States. And here's a PDF that you can click to view these maps in the classwork for today. First, we're going to practice summarizing what each map is telling us, and then we will consider all the maps and try to synthesize the information to answer our focus question. And our focus question for these maps is to consider, how does the physical environment of Nevada influence where and how people live? So if we click the link here, we will be taken to a new pop-up window of PDF with the activities that we'll be looking at today. You can certainly download this and save this to your computer. You also can consider opening it up with the Google Doc so you can type directly onto it. First, we're going to take a look at the example, which is Nevada. We'll work on this together. Then, as you progress, you'll be assigned a state to look at specifically in your small group. Okay, now let's take a look at Nevada and begin to summarize 2 or 3 pieces of information that we learned from the map. And as we do that, we're going to record this on the worksheet and the classwork assignment that I just reviewed with you that is attached in the PDF. Let's turn to our classwork and take a look. Here's what we have so far. So far, we've talked about these two maps, and we've taken away some important information, some key summary facts based on these two maps. If we scroll down, we'll see some more information provided to us in new maps. Let's zoom in and take a look. Here's a map showing the census results from 2010 and the total population. We can see that the darker the green, the higher the population in that specific county. A conclusion that we can come to, or a summary point that we can certainly identify based on this map, is that Clark is the most populated county in Nevada, down here, which is where Las Vegas is located. It also consists of a desert. Right? That's very interesting because we know based on the first map down here, Las Vegas is much desert land. And also down here on this map, we can see this is where the most people are living. Makes us wonder perhaps why that might be. Let's take a look at our next map. This map shows us the average annual precipitation for Nevada. And we can see it's very heavy with red. Red means under 10 inches of rain that this state receives a year. A conclusion or a summary that we can make is that Nevada receives very little precipitation or rainfall in a year. Most of the state receives less than 10 inches. And last but not least, we have a map showing us a zoomed in focus on the city of Nevada, giving us a sense of what the city looks like, the different areas or different landmarks within the city. We could see highways, roads, we can see shopping centers, educational institutions, hospitals, museums. So we can certainly tell that there's a lot going on in this city. A summary we can make based on this map is that Las Vegas has many attractions such as theaters, shopping centers, airports, and golf clubs. There are many roads and highways. Those are some examples of summary points that you can make on your Nevada sheet. You can certainly continue to add a second and third for each map that we just reviewed together. Now let's return to our focus on taking these summary points and turning them to a synthesis statement. So again, when we're finished summarizing all the information from the maps like we just did, we wanted to now consider all the information and respond by creating a synthesis to our question. Our question is, how does the physical environment of Nevada shape or influence where and how people live? So let's break this down. Here are some of the summary points or retells that we identified based on looking at each of the specialized maps for Nevada. And this is all information that we just reviewed. You can certainly pause the video down to reread this if you like. Now let's take a look at actually drawing some key conclusions with interpretation and inferencing based on all the summary points that we reviewed from the specialized maps. Here's a synthesis model that we can look at together. It says, Las Vegas is one of the fastest growing cities in America. Why would people move to a desert? Well, rainfall is minimal. It is very hot and dry. People who move there must not mind that. They must like the heat, but I bet they also spend a lot of time indoors. The city probably spends a lot of money on air conditioning. The city map shows many indoor tourist sites, so that might be why it is growing so much. And the people might be moving there for the jobs that the tourist attraction sites offer. Therefore, people must move to Las Vegas for the weather, jobs, and entertainment. Humans have really had to adapt to the geography of the Las Vegas desert in order to make it livable. So what we did here, social studies scholars, is we used our summary retells to now form a new conclusion, form a synthesis, really thinking about Las Vegas and how the people have adapted to the geography of this state. You are now going to work in your small groups to look at a specific state and city in the United States, just like we did with Nevada and Las Vegas. And you will continue to use the graphic organizer to map out the information, your summary points, and then create your synthesis statement based on what you have learned. As you're working on this assignment, here are some questions you might want to consider. You can certainly pause this video now and review these questions on your own. And these are the three groups that we'll have working today on different states within the United States. Our Florida group, our Illinois group, and our New York group. And each state will be focusing in on a city such as Miami, Chicago, and New York City. Okay, everyone, your mission is to now complete your analysis of your assigned state specialized maps to synthesize evidence and determine how the physical environment influences where people live and how the land is used. Great work today, social studies scholars. See you next time and happy learning.